Miss Piana, welcome to Romania. We know you attended last year event also. How do you find changes here in Romanian market over the year?
What I can see first of all is that there are many more participants this year, so that's a very good sign. At the same time, I hear that the situation is still complicated with private and public organizations always going for the lowest bidder and not best value and quality.
In your position at COES, what can you do to improve this situation and to make governments and public authorities to consider other means of evaluation rather than just cost?
Okay, it's a question that requires a number of points because, of course, there's the general position in favor of quality, but also concretely what we can do is to adopt standards, which we're doing. We can also lobby for public procurement that is specific for security, because security is not just any type of service.
Adopt standards but not impose them, right?
Standards are actually voluntary, you're right. What we can do and what we would want to do is in public procurement and call for tenders, oblige the companies that respond to these standards to abide by the standards. So in a way you're right, standards are not compulsory, but they can be made compulsory in public procurement.
Is there a time frame for this effort of yours?
Standards require from 18 months to 3 years to be adopted, so that's quite a long period, but there are already 2 existing standards for private security suppliers in port and maritime security and also in aviation security. So actually it really depends on public procurers to include these standards as mandatory, and that's also our work from COES to promote these standards, because sometimes authorities are not even aware that these standards exist. So that's an effort of communication we are doing in Brussels, but which also need to be picked up by the national associations towards their own governments.
Regarding Romania, what is the specific of our security market as seen from COES?
Right. From my perspective, and I can only basically state what I hear and what I perceive from this, is a race to the lowest cost. So that's a difficulty. Yeah, I think that's the main thing, and as a result of that, undeclared work. In Brussels, we are part as COES of the Undeclared Work Platform, so we're trying to raise awareness to this issue. And clearly, when you have a tender that states a price that is below the minimum wage, it is a clear encouragement to use undeclared work, and that's clearly not acceptable.
We have a debate in Romania over this thing, and even some authorities like competition argue that it is correct to have the best bidder in terms of price, and it's the job of other authorities to prove that they may be employing unfair practices or even illegal. Do you concur with this idea?
Of course not. Of course not. For me, it is obvious that fair competition is in clear contradiction with lowest cost. Lowest cost encourages cheating, encourages not abiding by the rules, encourages not offering full and best safety to your customers. So I think it is intellectually wrong to state something different.
Romania has a very heavily regulated security market. It's so regulated that the law doesn't only tell us what to do, but also how to do it. In this climate, it is very difficult to bring innovation, because I believe that the more regulated the market is, the less room is for innovation. However, it may improve let's say, the overall security. Which kind of law framework would you prefer? A more open one or a more regulated one?
We have always been in favor of a very strict legislation, clearly determining what are the missions that can be given to private security, and also I think there is a requirement for a clear description of the public-private partnerships. For example, in the metro stations or in critical infrastructure, what exactly is the role of private security? How do they report? How do they communicate with law enforcement? So I think the more precise you are in legislation, the better. And also if the state supports a quality approach. And I think that's possibly where there are some differences in various member states. But unfortunately, I think it's a current fact in the EU across the member states that they are looking for lowest bidders, and it's a constant effort from the national associations to push the level up and also increase the quality criteria in the tenders, in particular when we're talking about critical infrastructure.
Okay, one last topic, because you raised the ball for me regarding the partnerships, private-public partnerships. We do have lots of contracts in all over Europe, not necessarily in Romania. Lots of contracts with, let's say, the army or the defense systems of security systems of different countries. Many of these contracts come with offset agreements, but the offset doesn't necessarily make mentions about private security. Oftentimes offset deals with other type of, I don't know, commerce or manufacturing of clothing and things like this. Do you think it should be a good approach to try and regulate this in order to maintain the market of security, because basically defense is about security?
Do you mean to have some guidelines in public-private partnerships, how the partnerships should be maintained? Because I'm not sure I understand your question.
I mean that, let's say we buy planes, which are worth about 1 billion, and through the contract, the supplier company has to provide offset contracts for the economy of the state country that is buying. Those contracts are not related to security, although the main contract buying planes is a security contract.
Okay, then I will take the issue a little bit broader and would rather say security has now become a transversal issue, covering all branches of society and also all aspects of the contracts or of the management of companies. So it should not come as an afterthought, but should rather be integrated, because we're talking about protecting people and assets. So that should be the primary concern of any type of organization, contract, field. I'm not sure I'm answering your question.
I think you did. Okay. It's okay. Thank you very much, and we are waiting for you next year also.
Welcome, very welcome, and also I will be pleased to come back to Romania. Thank you.
Thank you.